Peace. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ali Taj Bey. Um, just wanted to talk about. This is something I knew for a while. Like it was a lot of years ago. I found this out, and let me see if I can just get phone in a good location. All right, so I found this out a lot of years ago, um, and at the time, it didn't make sense when I heard it. Like I heard it and I believed it, but I couldn't like put everything together and see how that's possible. But now after the U.S. Code and study, that's nationality and immigration. Um, I was able to get a better understanding and clarity, and now I completely get it and it makes sense. So under, I don't know the exact statute, but under Title 8, it says the different ways that you can lose nationality, United States citizenship. Um, and some of it, I think it's under the, what is that called? It's expatriation. So under that code, it says the different ways that you can lose your United States nationality. It's probably for any nationality in the world. I don't think just United States. But if you go to school in a foreign country, if you join a military force in a foreign country, um, or swear allegiance to a different country or government, um, then you shall lose United States citizenship. The only provisions is that it has to be voluntarily, knowingly, and you have to know the ramifications of what do you call it, loss of nationality. Inside the United States, you would go into an embassy before a consular officer, and you would actually state that there's a form for it. You would fill it out and just make an oath under oath that you're relinquishing your United States citizenship. That's the word I was looking for, relinquish. Um, so I got into it well with the judges. Basically, years ago, they had us, going looking for judges' oaths of office, which is something I didn't even know existed. So I was looking for something that I had no idea what it was, and then it was it's kind of like a treasure hunt almost, and it gets very exciting and it builds your confidence of the stuff that you learn once you start finding evidence of it, because there's two things going on. Is that people are teaching this and have been teaching this for years, decades. It's not nothing new, but the whole time before that, the general public just didn't have full disclosure of this fact. So public officials, including bankers, like as I started to learn, it's not just like judges, prosecutors, lawyers. There's bankers. There are probably can't think. Well, actually, yeah, doctors in the medical field, any dentists, doctors, surgeons, all swear an oath. Um, just to give you a broader term, but in a narrow term, it's just any public official, anyone who's holding public office. So all your mayors, your governors, presidents, vice presidents, all these people, and also holding public office. Depending on which one I'm thinking, because I don't want to overspeak and be wrong, but I'm my assumption is that it might be all of them. But it gives you some level of diplomatic immunity. Because at that point, you could actually apply for a diplomatic passport for traveling purposes for the government that you represent. It's supposed to be the only time you fly with it. So I know typically they say you can't or shouldn't have two passports or more than one passport. But with diplomatic passports, they have the diplomatic passport and they have a regular passport. So sometimes you can see these people flying with you and pulling out a passport and not realize that they're a diplomat. But if they were flying in their diplomatic capacity, you probably wouldn't see them because there's a different way for them to go through searches and travel and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, the travel is totally different. So um, and in that nationality code, I mean, I'll probably pull it up and I'll add it to the post or on the comment on this post. But it shows you the exact words and what you must say and everything to actually lose your nationality. But the thing is now that they're charging you for it because so many people, I guess, started understanding what this country is, and every other country is just a giant corporation that is set up like a corporation that you set up. When you set it up, it asks you to designate your officers. You have your, of course, like, well, yeah, because yeah, the president he's the president and the CEO. So I would say it doesn't have a CEO, but when you set up a corporation, you're gonna have your president, your vice president, you have your secretary, you have your treasury, and those are just some of the positions that they name. But then there's more, as you see in the United States, in their cabinet. It's a whole bunch more. The secretary of this, the secretary of that, you know, secretary of education, secretary of agriculture, um, the commissioner of this, and just goes on and on. So that's one thing I have to look up. I haven't been able to find that actually, but I think I did. Is that do these judges and lawyers, prosecutors need to be United States citizens in order to hold office? Because if they do, then they actually should be disqualified from office, and any act of that judge, officer, or attorney, state attorney, is ultra virus. Because if you have to be a citizen to hold that public office, which public office is a trust, and you relinquished it when you swore your oath. That's why they're so hiding them. Like when you ask them about their oath, no one speaks about it. No one admits to it. There are some instances where I brought it up, and the people actually did admit that they did swear an oath. Especially with cops, like they don't want to talk about it, or they say, "Oh, you're one of them. You're a sovereign." They try to throw you off or get you to get off of that, you know, to scare you or to manipulate you so you don't discuss that. But that is a very important factor. If they are there in that capacity, or their official capacity, the officer is pulling you over, he should have an oath on file. And just as he's asking you to verify who you are and identify yourself, he has the same obligation, especially as a public servant, which they don't like that. They're like, oh, you know, people say, oh, well, my taxes pay you your salary and this and that. And he'll say, no, you're not. And no, it doesn't. And he's absolutely correct because those tickets that he's issuing or citations generates revenue for his corporation and for himself. He gets paid from the corporation. So they'll say that, and they're not going to argue with you because they just know you're wrong. Like they see their paycheck, and you have been duped your whole life believing that your taxes, you're a good upstanding citizen paying your taxes because they help schools and hospitals and build bridges, fix the potholes and all this stuff. All of that is incorrect. Um, so I wanted to get deeper to that, and to that point is that whenever you're getting pulled over by these law enforcement officers or Leos or road pirates, whatever you want to call them, one thing that you'll notice is that they want that driver's license. They were told to get that. I don't know if all of them know why. Some of them are just doing their job. They just know that, like, I need to get this ID up out of you. I need to get that registration. I need to get that insurance. Blah blah blah. I'm going to tell you why. What nobody is telling you. To get your license, you had to give up. I don't know if they still do that. I remember when they enacted that, you have to give up like 6 points. You have to provide 6 points of identification to get your ID. Which they didn't tell you was those 6 things that you are offering to this other corporation, which is DMV or the tax collector's office, depending how your state operates, is everything they need to how you say it, to obtain jurisdiction. So when you're arguing jurisdiction, they already have jurisdiction. They've gained it. As soon as you give them that license, or if they can run your name and your car is in your name or whatever, and they be like, "What is your name, sir?" and you tell them, they already have jurisdiction. So we're challenging jurisdiction personam. Um, I mean, I almost feel it doesn't make sense. You want to challenge the authority of the court, not that they don't have jurisdiction over you, because by contracts they do. You provided all of that to get your driver's license. So that's one thing. So that's kind of the bad news. The good news is that everything you gave them has a monetary value to it. It is a bond. It's a security. A security, and under the United States Commercial Code, not the United States, but the Uniform Commercial Code, is it's probably any security, not any security, any negotiable instrument that has a maturity that exceeds 9 months. So I was just thinking about this the other day because I know it doesn't say maturity, but it has a expiration date, which is the same as a maturity. That bond fully matures on that expiration date. So your driver's license is a security. Your social security card is a security because it has a date of issue. It doesn't expire, but it does have a date of issue. So issue dates are also for securities. Um, and then what else do you bring? You bring that birth certificate. Your birth certificate doesn't have an expiration date, but it has a date of issue. That too is also a security. Uh, its maturity could be, I guess 65, 67, whatever it is, retirement. Especially on the Social Security card, because that's when they said that you've reached full term and you could actually pull from your Social Security. So that might be the whatchamacallit, the maturity date on that. Um, you give them proof of address, which is typically a bill, a utility bill. So a utility bill also makes you a resident, makes you local, makes you like once you come into a state and you either open a business in that state, attain a driver's license, or a place of residence, then you pretty much have everything that you need as far as minimum contact for that, um, I guess, state or entity, even the locals, to have jurisdictional power over you. So this is why a lot of people arguing at the side of the road and stating you know case law so and so versus blah blah blah. These officers aren't trained that. They're not attorneys. Maybe some of the seasoned ones that have went in court and sat on trial and different things might have learned some of these things, but the average cop out there, from what I've learned over the years, is they don't even know how to write a ticket up. And sometimes because of that, that can cause them to lose their case. And they'll learn at that point, but they're also getting coached a lot. They're getting coached by other officers. They're getting coached by the prosecutors, what to say, what not to say, what makes them look bad, and if they're lying, how to cover it up. Um, but to get to it, so this is what I was saying about the good news. Um, the one thing I heard, it says that once jurisdiction is challenged, then proof of it must be found on the record. And I kind of felt cocky when I heard that, and I was like, all right, because I've never seen evidence or proof of jurisdiction on the record until I started. Like you said, this is for people who are studying this and think that you're going to get this in a week, a month, or 6 months. And sometimes if you don't get it in that time frame, you kind of quit, give up, stuff like that. Um, this is going to take some years to fully develop and get understanding of everything, because there's so much. People be like, well, where do I start? Start anywhere, because you're going to need all of it. You got to study law, contracts, civil law, common law, equity, criminal law, it, everything that you're going to have to study, even personal injury. At some point, you may need that. You or your loved one may need to sue someone or something like that. You're going to have to learn how to litigate. You got to learn that. Court procedure, employment law, and anything that you think may affect your life, real estate law, all that. You're going to need it all. So to say where to start, just pick up anything. Um, Try to focus on one thing, kind of not at a time, but I wouldn't suggest like within a week trying to learn like five different things. Get something under your belt really good. Get a real great understanding of something because it'll help you. It's almost like languages. If you learned, I think they said if you learn, it's probably not English, but if you learn like Spanish, it makes Italian so much easier to learn, and then Portuguese and all these things. They're interconnected. So same with learning this about law. The more you learn, you can take it and bounce things off of each other and get the better understanding. Says, okay, I see it now because in this, and this, and that. So because of that, this is that, and this is that, and it connects. It just makes so much sense. So that's where I'm at. Is everything just like starts developing in your brain, and you just get a better understanding of everything. Um, but what I was saying about the license, the proof of jurisdiction on the record. Once I started really, because before I didn't know anything, and I just kind of believed that the system did its job or didn't do its job, basically. And I just trusted the lawyers and whatever they said, and I would hear them talking all this stuff in languages and not languages, but legalese. Hear them talking it, didn't really understand it, and then the judge would be like, "Did you understand it?" And for the to give them jurisdiction to allow accept my plea, I just agreed. But they told me what was the highest offer and how much I can get. And when we make a deal, and the deal sounds so much better, even though now looking back, no deal sounds great, especially if it's involving incarceration. Um, but as I got to this point, everything makes sense when I look back through transcripts, reading it, like they say, and all this and the records and affidavits and consideration of, and they're talking contract law. They have received valuable consideration that is necessary to consummate any contract. There must be consideration, must be valuable consideration. So they're talking that, back then didn't understand. I heard the word coming up a lot and whatever. Um, they don't have the same meanings as we learned in school. They're talking law and legalese. Um, but yeah, to get back to it again, because I think I got sidetracked. But the proof of the jurisdiction on the record is the driver's license. So when you start getting discovery, they will give you in their information, which is I don't know if Florida is a state that indicts. Everything seems to be by information. I probably will prefer indictment because you can challenge the process, of the grand jury minutes, the indictments. You can be present at the grand jury meeting. Um, and also you would want a true bill, which is, I've seen that a few times. They stamp it on their true bill. You want a true bill in equity. So I looked in the information, it goes through, and then it'll have a page where it gives your name. Um, it gives your name. It gives your driver's license number, which is proof of jurisdiction on the record. Your address. It gives your race. So mine's incorrectly, of course, black. Um, I forgot what else. I don't. Does it give social? Sometimes, if it knows social, most times on mine I look and it says social unknown. So so that's the proof. of the jurisdiction on the record that we never see. You'll never see it if you don't request discovery or demand. It's called a demand for discovery. Um, you'll never see and learn these things. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, here it is right here. And this makes sense, like I said, how everything connects, how or why people have been teaching um, to give the license back. And then, like I said, I can tie this to law. They say, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So um, it puts people in a sticky position because um, people are going to immediately ask, well, if I get my license up, like, what do I do? Like, what do I do next? And basically, you stand on your square. Um, in most states, I'm not going to say all, most states, there is a form that they have that they'll provide you once you ask that it's to surrender your license. And other times I've went there and either they knew immediately or they went to a supervisor to find out how do they proceed. And they'll just tell you in your own writing, like give you a piece of paper here, write this, da, 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 I'm canceling my license, and surrender your license back with it. And that's the process for that. Um, so it pretty much undoes the contract. If your license is canceled, what will happen is it'll come up in the system as suspended. What do you do then? Um, Basically, if you don't need it for your job for driving, like if you're not CDL or something like that, FedEx driver or something like that, you'll be fine, or Uber or something like that. Because with those things, you do need that license, that commercial instrument, because you are doing commerce using that license to do commerce, which would otherwise be illegal. Is what the definition of a license is. Um, but if you don't, and when I say like if you don't need it for, but that's what I mean in that commercial capacity. But of course, you're saying if you are driving to work and you get out and you drive a forklift or work the conveyor belt or something. So, some people will try to say, well, I do need it because I have to drive to work. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're doing it, using it in a commercial capacity, like, saying like driving trucks, rigs, or anything like that, any of those things, you actually are required because you are doing commerce. You're probably hauling something, either people or passengers or goods. Those are the things that makes, if you're doing that for hire, now you're operating in commercial capacity and you need that license. And it's, don't get it confused. I have to give clarity. Of course, they have something called a commercial license, then they have just a license. But both of those are commercial licenses made for commerce, trafficking, basically. So, um, yeah, you're gonna. I would even say once before you even get to that point, because this is what wasn't taught to us, is they just had people jumping out the window, like running up in these places, like, "Yo, man, here, take your license back," because it says on your license, just as it says on all your IDs and socials, it says that this is the property of blah blah blah, and upon request, we demand that you return it. So it's never yours. Like the cop is always asking you, "Do you have your license?" Sorry, buddy, this ain't mine. And then they'll say, "Oh, one of those," or "You're being a smartass." Let them read the back of it. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I could show you, because this is what mine says. I'm quite sure uh, everyone else's says the same. So I'm gonna show you this. All right, this it says the same thing, but it's in legalese and it's shortened. So it says the state of Florida retains all property rights herein. So it does say the same thing. It says, "What if you only have ID?" That number still represents the same thing. It is a contact. It's the contact that they need to this jurisdiction, and they will use that number on any citations. But this says the same thing, and it's probably going to be backwards, I guess, when I'm showing you like this. I guess it's backwards now. I don't even know if it's clear. It says, "What if you, if you were to have any ID and not a license, I would suggest getting the passport card." But Yeah, this says the same thing. It's just shortened. It's abbreviated. It says state of Florida retains all property rights herein, and it's meaning that this is their property. Meaning your likeness on this is also their property. You're theirs, and it don't get no clearer than that, because this is property. Um, but so let's trying to see if it has it on the passport card too. Yeah, it's crazy. So far on the passport card, it doesn't say that this is the property of any agency, and upon request must be returned, or nor does it say. I forgot the other one, but I just learned something else, which is beautiful about carrying this. So on the passport card, no signature, and that's usually what they need, because that's definitely a contract. Um, which is why on your license, um, they want you to sign it. So you sign a digital thing, and not only that for the contract purposes, but I would say all of those places are banking institutions. So what they're doing is they're taking blank endorsement on that tablet, and that it's just like Adobe. What is that? Adobe Acrobat, where you can write your signature out, and then you can take that and apply it to contracts to sign. They can take that and put that and create negotiable instruments. Take that, add your signature to it, and of course they got all your other biometric data, same stuff that TransUnion, Equifax is selling, um, and send that to the Federal Reserve Bank of that district, because each state has its own Federal Reserve Bank. Some have multiple, um, and that's for an advance. That's how money is created. They send an order there to print up the money and send it back. And that statute, there's two of them. I forgot. I don't have the other one down pat yet. But the first one is 12 USC 347, and then you have 347B. The other one I just found, which is I like it, the way it says even better. I think it's 12 USC 353. I think. See, 353, 351. Can't remember. I looked at it a couple of times, but I love reading that one. It's so clear. Um, so so this is why they are treasure hunting. When they pull you over, they need the ID, because the ID shows that that court's going to have jurisdiction over you. The way it usually works, which is weird because I still see it happening, but when you have another state's ID and you're in another state, you're of course considered a foreigner because of your nationality. Your nationality is by state. So if you're in Missouri driving and you are from Arkansas, you are a foreigner. And most times they don't have jurisdiction over you. Sometimes they do what is called long arm jurisdiction. So it can be looked up, long arm statute, if you put that in the search code. And there's other certain minimum contacts that you can also, they also can acquire jurisdiction that way. But this is what I want you to know. This is the good news I was going to tell you, because everything sounds bleak and bad. But as I told you earlier, all those things I mentioned are securities. And they are using these securities. They are selling them. They are trading them. They are negotiable. All that stuff. Is you need to learn to negotiate them to settle these charges against you. Because charges is just like what you think. And I like that people are sharing this definition more, but it's the definition of I think it says a charge card, and it tells you what it is. And it says any plate um, or credit coupon book, I think it says, and some other things. So you have to use that like a credit card. It's basically they just use your credit card to charge you with something. So if you went in a store and you used your charge card and charged something, aren't you going to put it in the bag and leave with it? So they are charging you with a traffic violation. You have that charge card. They have the number. They have your social already. People be like, "Yo, put your social with no dashes and blah blah blah." Um, I've literally done this numerous times. I've tendered an instrument um, with that information on it and just signed it and let them know this is for settlement of the charges that are pending, and have taken care of cases and have had them null prost. Exactly, exactly, Mike. Um, so I've actually done this. I've done what I'm speaking, and it blew my mind. But each time you do it and you're successful, your confidence grows, and that's what gives you the confidence to try more and more things. Because, like I said, they're going to either out of ignorance or because, not that you can make this system crumble. I kind of doubt that, but it's made it harder for them. The more of us that has woke up or awakened, it's made them harder for them to do what they've been doing for ages. And yeah, the tides have definitely changed. I see more and more videos of people asserting their rights. Sometimes they get it wrong, sometimes they get it right. But the more you do it and the more you stand up for yourself, the more confident you'll be and the more successful and more wins you'll get. Um, but yeah, I think the first time I knew about or tried tendering an instrument to settle any like traffic, criminal, whatever, haven't done it in the civil matter because that's totally different, I believe. Um, was I was on something reading and then someone mentioned a website or something, and I went to the website and he was selling a stamp. Uh, it's like an endorsement stamp, and this one was like pretty big. It was like this long and had a bunch of writing accepted for value, and it said the exemption ID number. One said the financing UCC financing statement number had that. I put that on there, and then it had a line for you to sign, and it was big. And then you just press it down on your instrument and sign it and fill all the information in your social security number. I think you had to date it and some other stuff and your name. And I've sent it in. I've actually communicated with judges' assistants, and they knew what was going on because they didn't do what normally happens, where they want to call you crazy or you're a sovereign citizen or that doesn't make sense, sir. Nobody was saying that. They just were saying, listen to me. And then we were having a really great conversation. Then they said, okay, I got to check on the judge and see if he's willing to accept it. And we got back and forth, I think, through phone calls and emails. And then finally I had to call again. And because I think, like I said, when they said the rules are three, you have to knock 3 times. But they're not going to give it to you on a fluke. I don't think anything has worked like the first time. Like I did something, then it just worked. So I had to basically nag them. Like I said, I contacted them by phone a couple times, emailed them, and then had to contact again to get my remedy. Got my remedy once I called back in. Um, so yes, there's truth and there's power to all of this. You do have to study. You do have to stay consistent. I see some people who come in and fall off and start getting distracted by worldly things again, and you just start looking at them like you got to stay focused. You got to stay in it. They dibble in and out of it, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and then wonder why 3 years later they still don't have understanding or they still haven't executed anything. You gave them powerful information and they haven't done anything with it. It's like, oh, I still got it. It's in my notebooks, or my laptop is full of it. I got a drive full of da 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 da, and yeah, never made an affidavit or never done anything, never challenged anything. So I don't want you guys to be that. But I know this video, I don't know if I can see the time, which I can't. I mean, oh yeah, I can. It's right there. All right, so it's like a half hour long. And I know sometimes shorter is better. Some people have a very short tolerance for things. So how are they giving tickets for ID, never had a license, and have a passport? Because the ID still gives them jurisdiction. You had to be a resident and you had to show proof of residency to get the ID. So it's almost as just as a license. Um, Absolutely, because you come up in their David system. They're going to scan you. Your picture comes up and everything. Shows that you signed, you agreed to your contract. You probably signed in blank. You didn't reserve any rights. You didn't write anything like special deposit. Any of that stuff in your signature, you have to get creative. Everybody is signing their name or a scribble dibble of something that looks like their name. Once I started figuring this out, I started signing a bunch of different stuff that had nothing to do with the name. I won't say my name, the name. Um, but a lot of these comments, I see you guys are commenting. I'll try to read them as they come up. I'm probably going to have to read them once once the video ends and I get a chance to review them. Um, but yeah, hopefully this was enlightening. I wanted to go real in depth with this one, just to let you know that where my experience is and how long I've been doing this. Been doing this a really long time. Um, I've been doing it before I came into the information of how this world really works, and before the veil completely was lifted up off of my eyes, which happened somewhere around um, 2014, as far as all this information about the constitutions and treaties and getting into everything, and the UCCs, which I never heard of. But I've been, won't even use the word practicing law, but I guess I could because it's for myself and we're entitled to that under the Constitution, self-representation. So, yeah, I've been representing myself. Obviously, when I started dabbling in laws, probably might have been, was it 91, 91, 90, 95, one of those. Um, yeah, I took a paralegal course, and I fell in love with it. But also because I got tired of sitting back saying, "Man, I hope I get off. Hope the lawyer does his thing." Da 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 da. And I just learned and realized through being represented and not winning cases that I should have won in different things, I learned that they didn't have my best interest. And that's when I said, well, I don't have the money to pay a lawyer. So the next best thing comes is I have to become a lawyer. But not in the sense of taking a bar, but I had to learn to figure this stuff out for myself and get myself out of jams. And I felt a lot of emotions. Some of them probably were stupid. I wish I can go back and read them now, but I just was willing to fight even if what I filed didn't make sense, it didn't follow the rules or whatever, and I didn't really get any remedy. Um, I was willing to file. I was like, you guys are gonna hear me, and I know what you did is wrong, and I just didn't know how to convey it and speak and say what was wrong and citing the law to do it. Um, but time changed. After I got awakened into this information and started learning some things, I really went back and looked at law differently. Um, and yeah, it was weird. I stopped taking plea bargains. Started going to trial. I've had a couple non-jury trials before. Haven't had a jury trial before, but I had a non-jury trial, which is weird. Why would I just let the judge sit there and judge me by himself? You're gonna the same way you felt before we went to trial. You're gonna feel the same way after, and especially the fact that you have a pecuniary interest in the outcome of the proceeding. That's a conflict. I send them to the IRS, not paying taxes. Absolutely. Yeah, all that. The bond number, um, it's in the CRIS, I forgot what that stands for. I can't remember the C, but it's Registry Investment System. Oh, Court Registry Investment System. That's true as well, brother. They are not the same. Just like the United States District Court and the District Court of the United States, they're two different things. That's true as well. And that the original or the actual Supreme Court of the United States is not in D.C. It's actually in Pennsylvania. So that was something that I learned too years ago, which was pretty surprising. Yep, the Chris. Usually you can find those on the county levels. Those are county specific. Um, but I'm gonna end this video. I got a couple things to do. Start my day. Um, yeah, I just want to be productive and get some things done. But I appreciate everyone for watching the live. Yep. And there's the other one. What is it? 4705. Is it 40? I don't know if it's 4705B or 4605. But where you request their tax filings, and also for your judges and your state attorneys, there is there's a form called disclosure of public officials, something disclosure of public defenders, public officials. Can't remember the exact name. I'll try to put that in the comments as well. But it's where every year they have to make a disclosure, a public disclosure of their financial, is it financial interests? They have to state everything, their houses, how much salary they earned, everything. And they're leaving out the part of the money that they're getting off of these. Now, a W-9 is just for requesting a taxpayer's number. And also the name of the taxpayer, because the judge is not operating under the judge, and we need to know what that, what the entity's name is. Absolutely. I don't have the Series 7. I went to try to take that some years ago when I learned about it, and hit a roadblock when I found out you had to have a sponsor. I thought this was some independent that I could just do, and I never looked into getting a sponsor and didn't really want to be affiliated with a sponsor. Yes, it is class 5. You know, it's stuff. All right, but I'm gonna get out of here, and again, I thank you for watching. Please share, please like, please comment. Thank you.